Hello, everyone. Welcome to Life Stories Told with Love by She's Mom. Today, I'm Alina Yanku, and today, as our invitee, we have Tumi. Tumi, can you tell us where are you speaking to us right now? From where you are speaking to us right now?
Hi, Elena. Thank you for having me. I am actually calling in from Johannesburg in South Africa right now.
So nice. How is the weather now there?
The weather, we actually are officially in our winter, but today it's a bit sunny outside. Thank goodness it's a bit warmer. We had a cold front last week. It was freezing. But, today, I guess that's the beauty of Africa. Even in winter, the sun still shines.
That's true. We have
Yep.
experienced some African heat nowadays. I mean, yesterday and the day before yesterday, it was pretty hot outside. And yesterday evening, we had a storm. Now it's better.
Oh, yeah.
Um, we've met today to give to our audience some examples of people succeeding in their areas or in their groups or in their countries, and these stories should inspire them to follow their dreams and embrace anything which is coming around them. Doesn't matter if it's a situation which is troubling them, or if it's a happy situation. You know that generally, even if it's a happy situation or a situation which is troubling you, it's a change. And the aim is to inspire and help people to face the changes easier, to find the power in themselves to grow, and
Yeah.
why not to follow things and situations easier.
Right.
Can you tell us at this point, because you told me before, and I will let you give to our audience the details, that you are an entrepreneur. What what made you? What changed you to choose this path?
So I have always been passionate about empowerment, as I mentioned in our discussion earlier, that just wanting to see people move from where they are to being the greatest that they can ever be. So and because I come also from the technology background, and I was an executive in a technology company, which is now part of a listed company in Johannesburg Stock Exchange. But my desire has always been for me to follow my purpose. I always tell people that if you can find your purpose earlier on in life, you are never going to have to work in your life ever again. So some of our purpose may be within an organization, because as I said, I loved empowerment, especially when it comes to women empowerment, just making sure that women have the resources, women have the opportunities, the skills and the competencies they need to position themselves to actually compete in this 21st century. So while I did it as well as a coach and as a mentor, as an entrepreneurship development business coach as well, even in the corporate environment, I've always found an opportunity to do exactly that, where I will then speak on behalf of women. I will create opportunities for women to go study further, to really better themselves. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are in the employment space or you are in the entrepreneurship space, as long as you know that what you are doing is something that you're passionate about. And that makes a difference, because once you make a difference, when you follow your purpose and what you're passionate about, it won't feel like work. Even though you have challenges or you have stressful days, you're able to pick yourself up because you're passionate about that. And also, that it is something that makes an impact. One thing I've learned in life is that when you do what counts, what can be counted comes later. So what that means is, when you do what counts, money always comes. You're able to get out of bed even in difficult days because you are passionate about what you're doing.
That's true. And you actually inspire me right now, because this is kind of my attitude when it comes about what I'm doing. And I'm always saying that if you are not doing with passion what you have chosen to do, this means that you have to change something. And what I wanted to ask you, listening what you were saying, I don't think it was a turning point when you decided to go on the empowerment part, and especially empowering women. I think, and this is actually the question: was it a turning point? I mean, a situation which made you to take this decision and take this path, or it was were some various situations which made you to go in this direction? Or maybe you were born like this.
Well, I have two answers to that. Firstly, I think that in terms of empowerment, I think it developed very early in my life, even when I was at school. I was always the kind of student who most students, my fellow classmates, would defer to, who would come to me and say, "What do you think?" Because I read books quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was almost like a psychologist at school, and I would say, well, I'll think about your situation and I'll give you an answer tomorrow, and I'll go read up about it quickly and then come and give them that. So I already at a young age was inclined to that. And then also I come from a very big family from my mother's side, where my mother has about 12 siblings, had about 12 siblings. All of them had about 5 children each. So you can imagine how many cousins and that I have. And because I was one of the very first ones to graduate from university, so everybody else who followed me, cousins and my siblings, I was like somebody they could go to, and ask advice. So I almost took that kind of thing naturally, very young, as a mentor, as a coach, to help them say, well, maybe you should study this, maybe don't study that. So that is the first one. And then secondly, while I studied psychology and change management, organizational development, I then went through also, remember earlier I mentioned that I was an executive within a corporation. So I had time for me to do my stint in the corporate space. But what changed, because that's where the pivot comes in to answer your question. And that happened, I think, just before COVID hit, where I was no longer doing what I was passionate about because I was so consumed with the corporate world and the politics and being the only woman, in the corporate world, in that organization, even on the board. I found myself so into, there were just too many politics. There were points even where the business was being sold, when you have people, when there are fights, the new people, owners that are coming in, they have their own people are, just the backbiting and the stress that I went through. I literally went for 3-4 months without sleep. I had horrific insomnia because of the stress. And I had to take a back step and decide. And I remember even my own doctor saying, you know what, you cannot go on for many months without sleep, proper sleep. You have to decide, because you can actually collapse any minute with a heart attack or anything. Decide, is this the corporation? You want to actually die younger? Whatever you're dealing with, make a choice. And I really made a huge choice then and say, am I going to live my life this way, fighting in this stressful environment, or am I going to follow my passion? Because now I'm no longer even following my passion. So I made a very difficult choice to leave. And when I left, because I left the corporation in 2019, February or March, then COVID hit. And my idea at the time was, oh no, I'm going to actually speak. I'm going to do my speaking engagement, my coaching, whatever. And most of the work that I did at the time was face to face, which is what most women do. If you look at all women's businesses, whether it's hair salons or whatever, everything that we do as women, our businesses are face to face. And that is why many women lost so many businesses during COVID. And then when COVID hit, I lost everything. I lost all the opportunities to speak. I lost all the opportunities to coach. Everything shut down. And in fact, in South Africa, we were shut down for about almost 2 years, 2 full years. That was hard. That was really hard. It was during that time when I then decided to pivot because I looked at what was going on in the world. If you recall, it doesn't matter where you were at a time, um, three major things were called essential services. It was whether technology, food, or medical supplies. Anything else was not important at the time. And that said to me, if we are as women are not aligned with where the world is going and putting our businesses or whatever it is that we're doing in a technology or even in our own jobs, because remember people started to work virtually, which means you had to capacitate people to be able to use technologies, to work from home, etc. So I did that pivot, which was very difficult. Imagine that, no finances to start the business, but I started it anyway because I believed so much on what the impact it was going to do. So, in a nutshell, if you believe, it doesn't matter what you do, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in what you're putting on the table, and you have that passion, people buy into it. Because today I'm actually commercializing and launching the same technology. And in fact, I was nominated. In fact, I won an award 3 months ago as the best woman-led clean tech team in South Africa. So that in itself, it started from the most difficult times. But because I believed in myself and I had faith in my, spiritual life, I believe in Jesus, because it is through difficult times that you got to believe in something higher than yourself when the tough gets going. So that kept me going and say, surely this is my purpose, and surely I have the skills, the capacity. I may not have the resources, but also I had to be creative around that and say, you know what, if I can take this solution to a certain level, use whatever savings, whatever I can get. And then when I approach, because when you approach funders, they want to know what you put in. They want to know what you've sacrificed. And so when they saw what I have sacrificed and that this was a viable business that's going to impact many lives globally, some investors came on board, and now we are at a point where we are going commercial in South Africa, and thereafter we will go to the United States because we have an office in the United States as well.
Well, with such passion, it's pretty hard not to achieve what you were aiming to. And basically, this determination, this power inside you should always rely on, and not only women, also men, because everybody needs to not necessarily succeed, but to be sure that there is something there which will who will support them during their journey.
Right.
We can call that support Jesus, God, universe,
Right.
or other people, because the helps most of the time is coming from people.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Relationships are crucial. This is why also, I think going back to COVID, I think it was during those times where people started yearning to just talk to somebody, and even working from home, some people got depressed, not seeing your colleagues. So it also just showed us how important relationships are, that we do not take them for granted. So wherever we are, especially as women, because we're very good at creating relationships. But what we are not good at is actually maximizing on those relationships. We forget that we have a network. Every time you're thinking, okay, what am I going through? You forget you have a network. You got to go back and say, who is in my network? Who can be my coach? Who can be my supporter, my advocate? So because we're good at that, so if we can maximize on that, we can actually even go a long way as women in general.
Have you had a relationship significant relationship with somebody in your life who actually, and I mean that stable person or that person you are admiring, who actually determined you to be like you are. Because as you said, it was a trigger. So who are you looking at when you want to do make good, to do good in life, to change people's life? Because this is what you are telling me now, that you want to change the lives of the people around you, and you want to make the life of the others better. Why? Why? Who was that person?
Well, I think for me, I'm inspired by different people. Because nobody is perfect. I believe there's no one individual who's perfect. So every time I meet different people, I meet you today, and then I look at people who have things that I don't have, strengths that I don't have. For instance, patience is not one of my strength, my strong point. So when I meet somebody, either it's Alina today or tomorrow somebody, and you exhibit that competency or that you have, I actually admire it. So, and I want to get to know how you worked around that. So, but the one person who in a way, I mentioned that I was an executive in a technology company. The owner of that tech company was the most intelligent man I've ever seen. He was, originally from Russia. Now, in terms of technology, his mind worked like a computer. When you came with him with a suggestion, he would be like 10 steps ahead and tell you exactly why what you're suggesting isn't going to work. And he was of the opinion that, there's nobody smarter than him. He kind of knew that he was smart because, he had lectured all over the world and everything. So I admired his mind, I admired just the way he thought, his thinking capacity. Now, like I said earlier, that different people bring to the table different things. What he did not have, though, was the EQ. He didn't have the emotional intelligence, which for me and most people were terrified of him. He was the most difficult person ever, but he and I got along so well because I studied him, I understood him, I understood how he thought. And every time I wanted something, and I got everything I wanted out of him. If I wanted to increase people's salaries, I knew exactly how to present that. So sometimes, some relationships, you can find somebody who's very difficult in your life. But when you come around, because as women, we have strength in understanding people, in dealing with different people, in reading, human behavior, because we have been given the emotional intelligence of nurturing. So I would compliment him with that, because I wouldn't actually go to him and argue and say, oh, the business is making profits, so therefore we need to increase people's monies. He wasn't going to budge on that. So the only way I would actually sell that, and I'd say, have you seen how expensive groceries are these days? And then he'd say, oh yeah. And he was a billionaire. He would say, oh yeah, no, things are so expensive. I went into the store, I couldn't believe these little things that I bought. I said, now imagine what our people are going through. Imagine what the people in the manufacturing or at the bottom there are going through. And then he'd say, okay, what do you think? I said, well, I was thinking. So that's how I got everything I needed from him. So as women, for the most part, we want to compete directly with men. Be tough, be hard, come with, you got to use your natural way of nurturing, because they don't know what to deal with that. And they cannot argue with that. Then you speak into their sensitive part. And most people didn't understand why I walked away. I could get anything out of him. But you go to him with something else, they would even come to me and say, I want to present this to this man. Should I be saying? I said, no, don't say it that way. And he's not going to actually agree. So yes, and I learned a lot from him. Because the one thing that he said to me, even when I left, was that, you know what, the one thing he appreciated about me was he knows that even if I were to be put in the desert, I would survive, because I have what it takes, that resilience. And I think now when I look back to 2020 and what I achieved from there, from nothing, I built this business from absolutely nothing. And now I see what he was seeing. And I look at that myself and I'm thinking, I didn't realize I was that resilient. So, yeah, sometimes we got to, give ourselves a pat in the back and say, well done, because we don't do that often.
Well, I will tell you thank you, because you reminded me about something I probably forgot, because I have that masculine power in me of going and competing basically and showing that I'm more powerful than some people around me. So you reminded me that maybe I should use my woman mind, and
Yeah, yeah. And that's a strength.
I
Remember,
should
that's a
go
strength
back
because,
and exactly.
yes, absolutely. Because if you fighting them in their masculinity, they're used to that. They would fight back. But if you go in with your femininity, they don't know what to do with that. They get confused, and then you win your battles.
Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding me. Because my mother taught me to be strong and always be on my feet. So I am thanking her for that. She was my first
Yes.
example, but the example, actually, I've seen it after 30. I didn't realize that before my 30s. So I would like to thank her about the lessons she has given to me. And about your story, it seems that you both admired each other, but you only knew from your side that you admired him. You didn't know that he was admiring you, and
Right, right,
so
absolutely. And that toughness of yours also, there's nothing wrong with that, because I consider myself somebody tough. When I sit in that boardroom, I would challenge. So the key is knowing when to use it, to be fluid and say, okay, what is this situation calling for? Do I need to step into my femininity for the situation, or do I need to use, because different situation will require that. When I'm in the boardroom and I'm talking policy and I'm talking, we got to do certain things, I got to get in and speak the facts, because then that's a different story. So yeah, no, kudos to you as well. I think it's just finding that good balance between the two.
I have two other questions, and we will finish our wonderful discussion. To be honest, I want to continue it for several hours, but it's not possible. What is your motto in life? Do you have one? Do you have many? But only one, which is the most significant for you.
I always believe that tough times never last, but tough people do. Because in life, it doesn't matter whether you are you're in the corporate field, or you are an entrepreneur, or you just a mother at home, because I wouldn't even want to say just a mother, because that's important. That's an important job. You will find tough times. You are going to come across something that's really difficult, but understand that it doesn't last. Those times, something changes, sooner or later, things change to better. And as long as you stay the course and you are tough, you are resilient, you will bounce back from whatever situation you're experiencing. So always remember, tough times don't last, but tough people do.
Okay, so nothing is permanent, but some things are remaining in your life. This is my motto, actually. Nothing is permanent. Nothing.
There we go.
So you need
Exactly.
some patience, which I don't have, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, that reminds us a lot to actually be grateful, and then also not make permanent decisions based on temporary situations, because some situations are temporary. So you got to actually hold on a little longer, and then eventually you'll see things change.
Perfect. Could this be an advice from you to our audience, or do you have something more? I don't know, more powerful than that?
Well, I think right now, I think the one thing, especially for women, um, sometimes we underestimate the gifts that we have. We think that you got to be better. You look at somebody else next door and say, I wish I could be that. I wish. So we are all unique. We all bring our beautiful to the table, whatever it is. There's nobody who's always, there's always going to be somebody who has more than you, but you got to look at within and say, you know what, of course I am not going to apologize for being here. I have what it takes. I am here to add value. So and just having that strong self-esteem and say, I belong here. If not me, why not? Who else? And really have that. I think for me, this is something that I would love all women to actually walk away with and say, you occupy your space and hold your head high up, regardless of where you come from. You're here to actually add value.
Thank you so much, Tumi. Yeah, it helped me a lot, the discussion with you, and I hope will help other people who will watch this podcast. I would like to thank everybody for watching, and as a message from my side, and I was saying before, of course, in the other podcast, rely on you, find the power in yourself, and of course take care of yourself, because you are the only person you can rely on.
Yes.
And you are the most valuable person in your life. The other will come and join you. Thank you so much, and waiting for you for the next podcast. Thank you, Tumi. It was wonderful having you here.
Thank you for having me. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.